This morning I had a delivery of an LT77 gearbox with a problem, but that's unusual, all the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba, 2,500 kilometres away. Let's have a look at it, and this is how people should pack things. This is absolutely brilliant. It's nice and clean, it's on a good pallet, it's properly packed, and yeah, that's how you should send things. And clean, most importantly. I charge for cleaning now because it takes such an awful long time, and being outside in the cold, it ain't fun. So what we're going to do, I've got the bench cleared off, the old series box is all in pieces now, split from aluminium to the steel because it's no good, that's going to go for scrap. So let's get in here and see what we're going to find. I think he said it was jumping out of gear. Well, let's get the box on the table and let's find out. He also sent the transfer box, because he might as well do, because it doesn't make any difference to shipping, and we'll reseal that as well. So an initial look at this, one thing that jumps out at me is how this bearing is. It's not, I don't know what the hell that is. I've never seen one like that before. Anyway, initially the shaft is nice. That's just the right amount of play on there. So I don't think there might be anything really too serious with it, because when we have a look at the back, this has been rebuilt before. This is a, I don't know if you can see the number on there. It's a 51A suffix E. I think we can see that. Which means it's a British military with a low first gear. Now, that's good, like that. And like I say, I think this has been rebuilt before. Let's turn it over. Indeed, there's the contract plate. I don't know if we can see in the light there, but it was the 15th of November 2010. Not too bad. So I don't know really what's wrong with this. He said it was jumping out of gear. I don't know. Everything seems to be alright. So first of all, the first thing we're going to do is pull the cover off. I'm sure he said there was no oil in this, so that's a good thing. We're going to take him at his word. But we'll have a look at the top, and it's easy to tip it down on the side if there's any oil in it. Take this cover off, and then we'll start to take this back piece off. We'll also take this front cover off here and get all this lot out of the way. And then I'll put the camera on the stand and see what we can find. Filters usually give us a clue. It's just a shame they didn't put a filter on the externals of the R380. A little bit of oil in there, nothing much. Some gasket on there. There we go. Knock that off. Now, get a pair of pliers to find. Ooh. Well, there's bits, it looks like a fibre. I don't know what that is. Gear oil doesn't smell burnt. There are bits of metal particles in there. I don't know if you can focus in on that. There's some metal in there. Interesting what's gone wrong with this. Right, let's get that snap ring off. With the snap ring off, the R380s didn't put a little snap ring on the shaft for some bizarre reason. Anyway, with that off, we can then look at our getting this off. Now this is where you need this sort of tool to get this ring off, because it is a bloody nightmare to get off. Should edit this bit out, shouldn't I? Cat balls. I think I wind that in just so I can get it into my toolbox. Right. Bit more. So this is made in two halves. It's like a split shell. Thin bit goes around your the piece you've got to take out. Slide that across there. Some come off really easy, some are an absolute bugger. What's this going to be? Oops. Well, it wasn't the bugger, that's for sure. Right. That's my arsenal of bits and pieces for gearboxes, all special bits and bobs. Next thing, I'm going to start to take that pin out of there, and then we can loosen this row of bolts around the gearbox. This must be a sort of a lateish gearbox, because very early gearboxes had a bracket going on here. Then it was plugged in, so I don't know what this is. I've lost track of all these gearboxes now. Anyway, let's do that. Another thing we're going to take off is these two bolts off here holding this top pin in, and try and loosen off here where the detent ball goes in. So I'll do that because it's not very interesting to watch. Sometimes getting this little nut out the top here that holds the detent in is kind of tricky, so I've got myself one of these old type of impact things here with a flat bit on, and when you hit it it'll unseal it, because you see usually what you do is you put some pop marks in there with a punch to stop this pin coming out. There we go. Right, need to get that out of there. And then we can start to take off these bolts. I've got the ring of bolts out. I've left one last one in here. I had to take the engine mounting off the other side, the gearbox mount, because I couldn't get in. But this is one little tool I made a couple of years ago, because I couldn't find a right size socket to get into here, rather than using a ring spanner, and a 10mm wasn't strong enough, so I got a 10mm ring spanner and sort of welded it onto a 3/8, which nobody actually uses, like a 3/8 AF. So we can now spin that off using the gun. See how quicker it is than doing it with a little spanner. I don't know why I told you that. I don't need to know that. Right, so let's have a quick look round. What can we see? There's no more bolts in. I've got the bolts out of there. When I talked about this, I'm going to do myself a bloody mischief. This selector in here, don't knock the pin all the way through and drop it into the bottom. Just tap it lightly with a punch, and then all of a sudden you'll feel it come free. The reason for that is there's a support bearing, or a support piece of casting just here. So this has to come out, if you see what I mean. It won't slide with the casing. It won't come off. I'll pass it. I don't know what the hell I'm on about this morning. It's too early. Right. So let's see if we can get this off. Oh. Bye, we've had some use. I found my dismantling tool, my original one. These have had some use this week. If you ever notice, when I use a dismantling tool, I always use it at the top rather than at the bottom, because in the odd event that you do actually damage anything, then it's going to leak out the top, not the bottom, which is less likelihood. There we go. There's that piece off. Well, in my big mouth, the pin actually had dropped it. Alright, let's pull this off and see what we can find. I see, I forgot to take there's a little O-ring here. See, the R380s don't have this O-ring on, so now it should just come out. Ha! How easy was that? Now, pay attention. There's a little square drive in here for the oil pump, don't lose it. Next bit we'll have a sort of a visual look around and see what we think of this. This is the 5th gear. So we've got to take that nut off. There's some. See, these are all little interesting things you find. Let's move that up there. Pay attention to this nut down here. Let's have a zoom. See there, that nut. It hasn't been stalked over. You see that you're supposed to bash it in with a punch, both sides, to get that off, and that hasn't been done. So the next thing we've got to do, we don't really want to take this piece apart yet. We're going to concentrate on, oops, you can't see, can you? Oh, damn it. So anyway, what I was saying was, we've got to take all this back end off. Before we take the back end off, I'm just going to put a couple of bolts through here, just to hold this casing together, because we don't want all the gears to come out all at the same time. So just a couple of bolts either side. Right, so you don't have to be too tight, just finger tight. And then we can take this piece off. So what the thing we've got to do first of all is take this circlip off here, this little snap ring off here, and then dismantle this selector. It, you see, if I remember rightly, we have to use a puller to draw that off the shaft. In order to do that, we've got to take those 13mm off there. That's why we're putting these 2 bolts in, because if not, when you're sort of wiggling it all about, the bloody gearbox will all fall apart, and it's easy to manage when it's like this. So let me get some circlip pliers out and get this off here. Now what I usually do to get these off, I open them up so far, because you have to put a new one anyway, stretch it so far so it comes off. You know, just sort of destroy it, in other words. Once you've got the circlip off, try and get this washer off here. And that should come off here. There we go. Now we can take off these bolts here at the top, and the spanner will go on. We'll unloosen that and then we'll come back.